Basically, everyone is a content creator eh. Basta meron kang cellphone, meron kang smartphone, tapos meron kang pader at saka stable internet connection. Pwede kang mag-create ng content, no? Paano ba matutulungan yung mga kababayan natin to be more insightful and critical in terms of organizations that present themselves as media networks or organizations when in fact, iba pala yung nasa likod. Kunwari, politiko pala. Okay, in this case, political operator.
Mhm, mhm. Okay, that's a really good question, no? Kasi yung isa pang observation ng mga disinformation researchers is that in recent years, talagang nagiging laganap yung fake news channels at mga pseudo newsrooms. So, yung isang argument ng isang disinformation colleague ko na si Jano Libot is napansin niya maraming mga nagsisprout ng mga pages, YouTube channels, na pinapackage nila yung sarili nila bilang mga news anchor, news influencer, etc. At hinihiram nila yung vocabulary ng news tsaka yung aesthetic ng news. So may banner, may words sila na breaking, may ganun silang sensationalization ano. Pero kung sisilipin mo yung mismong content nila no, makikita mo disinformation pala siya or hyperpartisan pala siya. At makikita mo rin, hindi rin sila kilala sa industry, no? Isa yun sa mga red flags na nabanggit ni Sir Ipe. So, the closest way to be able to tell, apart from kung known ba ito among media peers, respected ba ito, is talagang through being able to, yung media literacy skill talaga, Christian, which unfortunately, kailangan pa natin i-develop bilang isang nation, no? Yung media literacy skill to be able to identify kung yung content ng isang channel ay biased or hindi. Or nag-a-adhere sa ethics ng isang newsroom, ng isang traditional newsroom, or not. So yung nabanggit ni Sir Ipeno na hindi ito galawan ng respectable na journalist or newsroom, I would actually say, yes, correct. And also, galawan siya actually ng PR. So, it's a PR agency or a PR person who would, commission or site-specific politicians siguro, ay mag-aangat ng certain politicians na medyo random, no, out of nowhere. It's siguro mas a PR perspective kung magpapa-award kayo or magpapa-hype kayo ng mga awards na hindi naman kilala in the industry. So may mga ganong mga red flags, ano? And kailangan talaga natin, tayo as a country, we have to invest in media literacy infrastructure through our education, no? Para malalaman at para ma-equip natin yung mga kababayan natin with the skills to be able to identify these things. Kasi nasa level na siya ng analysis is if a piece of content is hyper-emotional at masyado siyang nagpa-play sa biases mo, whether that's for or against you. Kasi yung problema ng mga journalists, no, at kaya siguro hindi malaki yung views natin or kaya siguro hindi lucrative ang business model natin is because bawal sa atin ang pagpapahype, no, at pag-attach ng emotion. Parang dapat kung ano lang yung cold hard na facts, no? Dapat level-headed.
Sensationalism ang tawag kasi doon. Ang tingin mo rin sa extortion na allegation itself?
I think it's true With all due respect to Franco. By the way, malaking risk then for me to say some of the things that I say now because Franco is vindictive He will really, unless talagang magsa-social media cool off siya na magto-turn off siya ng Pero I think he will go guns blazing Siyempre una kay SMR, but I'm just saying yung sa sarili ko, he will he will not be happy with the things that I've said. Pero siyempre ako I have to do my job, which is for public interest. Public interest is talaga sila I'm not saying extortionist Ayoko nga muna masyado puntahan yan, Christian, kasi that requires trial 'di ba? But if it if what you're asking me is the entrapment plausible?
Yeah.
Is the idea na they talk to SMR, that they have an attack video against SMR and that they tried to get money from SMR? I have to relate that to the fact na ang experience ko nga, they are willing to get political clients either to promote or to attack. So wala naman dun yung extortion na hindi ipapublish. Pero hindi na malayo yung talon na you will bury the story if you get paid. From the fact na you're okay getting paid to promote or to attack their candidate, yung kalaban na candidate. So ako, I find it, for me, just my opinion, di ba? I don't have the evidence before me, but from what is publicly available from the NBI, we followed naman yung kanilang pag-entrap. Parang wala namang dun set up. Parang free choice and voluntary talaga si Franco. Went to a hotel, there was discussion of money, he followed it up with a call, and then he tried to put layers para hindi siya makot red-handed getting the money. Somebody else got it for him, pero he was waiting in a room for his friends to bring the boodle money. So, ako, with all due respect to Franco, I think it's true.
Sige.
Iyan, i-point out natin to. Meron kang video, okay? Na gusto mong ipalabas. Supposed to be about the involvement of Speaker Martin Romualdez on the flood control scam. My question is, why is there monetary consideration involved? I think if you are a really honest-to-goodness journalistic operation, the only interaction you would have in a source, in an official, public official involved in the content that you are producing is for you to get their side of the story. No? So bakit may halong pera? So yung palang mga napakalaking red flag. No? So paano mo maipapaliwanag yun na mayroong monetary consideration in the production and publication or uploading of video?
Pero ipa yan, yung sa yung kay Martin Romualdez, yan, magkakaalaman yan sa korte. Pag talagang nilitigate na yan, di ba? Kaya syempre, sinasabi ng kabila, walang extortion na nangyari. Actually, iniisip ko rito, di ba kung ikaw yung news organization, tapos kung ikaw yung sinetap, kunwari tinakot ka ni Martin Romualdez, ilalabas ko yung video talaga. Di ba?
Are they selling the video to former Speaker Martin Romualdez? Or
hindi ko sinasabing gano'n.
Diba?
Hindi, sinasabi ko, ilalabas ko yun, ipopost ko yun.
Oh. So kung journalistic operation ka, bakit mo binibenta yung video? Or why are you asking money in exchange for not publishing the video? So tama ka. No? Kung meron ng threats na nangyayari, ang gagawin ng isang newsroom, ilalabas yung video. No? And then,
we have to note din, no? Ipasok ko kagad. May post kasi ako here. A lot of the evidence is actually online Para kasing nagko-confess itong PGMN If you will just go back to many of their posts. On February 21, nag-post si PGMN na nag-shoot ng video si CJ Hero na massive expose, blah, blah, blah. February 21 pa. And I recall meron kaming phone call noon ni Franco. Again, I have to share. Unfortunately, ang daldal niya kasi na parang kinikwentuhan niya ako na i-questionin nila yung fourth term ni Kong Yeda as Tingog Party List. I-questionin niya or ni Rowena Guanzon magpa-file ng case, gagawa sila ng video or matagal nang nagawa. So what's my point here? My point here is, nandiyan na actually yung video nung February 21 pa nila shooting. Ilang buwan na ngayon? 2 buwan na from that. So bakit hindi pa napapublish or itong ang na-arrest, all the more dapat kung na-arrest na si Franco, mas dapat na-publish na kagad ni PGMN kung totoong walang extortion.
Tama.
So kung newsroom ka talaga, how are you going to monetize that video? No, siguro you will get it from monetization revenues or from direct advertising revenues. Hindi pwedeng galing yun sa isang sponsor. Right? Otherwise, hindi yun...
Apply ka sa grant, Sir Ipe, di ba?
Walang
Oo.
walang gumagawa ng ganun. No? Na kukuha ka ng pera sa politiko to either publish or not publish a video. Yun ang tinatawag na dati na ACDC.
Mm. Yun
Yung
pala,
ACDC case.
kasi sa discussion, no, pag may mga nagtatanong, ano bang pinagkaiba ng mga journalists sa mga kahit sinong content creator? Isang basic difference dyan ay kahit hindi perpekto yung industriya ng pamamahayag, yung mga legit journalists, kahit marami ring mga tulisan, prostitute at saka mandarambong, marami yan, di ba? Alam natin yan. Pero kahit papano, pinipilit nating pangalagaan yung industriya, pinipilit nating ipatupad yung standards. At sinasabi ko nga lagi, para sa law yan, di ba? Sa mga lawyers, marami rin namang talagang mga walang hiyang abogado. Pero ang maganda, meron tayong set of standards that all of us, try our best to adhere to. And that is one of the reasons why, let's say, law and journalism are both called a profession. Ang tanong ko sa inyong tatlo, no? Paano ba, I wouldn't use the word regulation, no? If at all, I'm going to use self-regulation. Pero how would you somehow make it work? Let's say in the case of content creators where everything is democratized. And with that democratization, you can also come up with abuses depending on your appetite for these abuses. Siguro let's start with Regine.
Okay. Siguro maraming layers yung sagot ko dito kasi very constant ito na debate sa disinformation space kung ano ang regulation na kailangan natin. Pero zoom out muna tayo sa specific case ng PGMN. Tingnan natin yung larger context ng disinformation sa bansa natin. Noong 2022, may linabas na study ang Internews that estimated that covert political operations through content creators ay isang industriya na worth up to 1.5 billion. That is to say, my estimation that 1.5 billion yung worth ng nabayaran sa mga influencers para mag-campaign sa 2022 elections covertly. What does that mean? Ibig sabihin, nagkukunwari silang organic na supporter, nagkukunwari silang tunay na supporter, pero actually, bayaran sila. It's a PR campaign basically, no? So, kung 1.5 billion yung worth nung 2022, ang tanong ay ano yung naging worth noon nung etong huling midterms, no? So yun ang context na kinagagalawan natin. May mga influencers for hire, may mga Facebook pages for hire, etc. Yung unang layer kasi, napakahirap na i-legislate, no, or i-regulate yung free speech in general or yung media in general because uupo lang yung maling presidente. Or we just elect the wrong leaders. At ang gagawin niya ay, ita-twist siya na yung legitimate media ang fake news. Tapos yung fake news operators, sila yung magiging mainstream, di ba? And siguro naman, no, some people in the industry will say that we've already experienced the taste of that somewhat, no? So, hindi ako totally in favor, no, na kailangan i-regulate siya on the level ng content policing, no? Palagay ko, ang isang kailangan natin ay parang mas audience receptive na audience receptive na intervention. Kailangan equip yung mga kababayan natin at the educational level, yung media literacy talaga, to be able to tell kung ano yung fake news, how does traditional news operate. Kaya medyo nakakabahala itong mga changes, no, sa curriculum ng DepEd saka ng CHED na kung saan tinatanggal yung media literacy. Because these are, tinatanggal yung humanities, no? Because these are changes that can potentially make the Filipino people more vulnerable sa disinformation. No? And that will affect all aspects of our political life. Yung isa pang aspect ng regulation na palagay ko kailangan natin ay yung intervention naman sa tech platforms. Kasi karamihan ng mga content na nakikita natin na fake news, actually, nagva-violate ito ng mga community guidelines na dapat nasa rules na ng mismong platforms. Nagkakalat sila ng smear against specific people na hindi totoo. Actually, harassment yon, no? Nagkakalat sila ng, or they attack certain people, ganyan, or nagsaspam sila, ganon. lahat yon violative na ng mga existing rules on media platforms na hindi na e-enforce ng mga media platforms. At in fact, binabayaran pa nga ng media platforms at ng social media platforms yung mga influencers na to through their monetization schemes when actually their content violates their rules. So, palagay ko, yung ganong aspect ng intervention, yung mismong financial model, yun yung dapat ibusisi.
Okay. O sige, who would like to go next? Tsaka siguro bilang panghuli na ipasok nyo na rin yung mga pwede nating mahugot na leksyon, critical lessons out of this episode. Who would like to go first?
Siguro sagutin ko yan.
Sige.
I think walang shortcuts. Walang shortcuts, no? If you want to be recognized, even respected as a journalist, no, you will have to learn the ropes, no, go through the process, no, matuto kang magharap ng sarili mong storya, hindi yung nagre-repackage ka lang ng storya ng iba o kaya may kaharap ka lang microphone at camera ay journalist ka na kahit na wala kang body of work, no? Wala kang experience, wala kang pinagdaanan ng mga beats, no? I know a lot of people will say na pasahin na yan, mawawala na rin yan, mapapalitan tayo lahat ng AI. Pero hindi, nandito pa rin tayo no? Sa buhay pa rin ng mga TV networks, may mga balita pa rin sa TV, may dyaryo pa din, may mga news websites pa rin. At lahat ng ito ay dumadaan sa isang proseso na kasama yung vetting, editing, may close editorial supervision, may ethics, no? May separation between editorial and business, no? Kung wala yung mga ganong elemento, hindi mo pwedeng sabihin na isa kang journalistic operation. So, pasensya na, pero wala talagang shortcuts doon. No? Hindi mo pwedeng sabihin na, hindi mo pwedeng gawing excuse yung upheaval ng technology. No? Siguro as an industry, we will have to deal with that. How do we arrive at a working business model, a workable business model for all of us to survive? Pero I think may wide consensus sa lahat na hindi mo pwedeng itapon lahat sa basurahan, no? Yung 100 taon ng journalistic practices and ethics dahil lang gusto mong mauna sa technological curve.
Ayos yan
Ako siguro, controversial yung ko Sa akin, controversial yung opinion ko dyan how to weed out real and fake journalists. But sa tingin ko, it requires constitutional reform for the protections to be there. For me, ideally, there would be a constitutional body na parang PRC, Professional Regulatory Commission, which will give licenses to journalists. So, obviously, that requires insulation. Kailangan ma-insulate din from politics. Hindi siya pwedeng appointee ni presidente or what. There has to be a mechanism where mako-convene yun, magkakaroon ng body that is the one that will accredit and give quote-unquote licenses to journalists for them to call themselves as journalists. And then others, content creators lang. Kasi syempre, iba yung iba yung press freedom, iba yung notion na you are really a reporter, a journalist na with objectivity, not in the traditional sense na, no? But objectivity in your method. Objective yung pag-gather mo, objective yung pag-report mo. Of course, may biases ka, but you have editorial review or mechanisms. Sa tingin ko kasi, kailangan meron ding partly, of course, lawyer kasi ako, so baka yun yung naisip ko. I think there needs to be institutionalization of the part of the press that requires protection from the rise of fake news, the rise of disinformation networks na they call themselves nga, sabi ni Regine, they want to pretend to be journalists, things like that. I'm not dead set on that, but it's just something na I think there needs to be some accreditation method. It's just devil in the details. Who will accredit? How will you accredit? Ano yung standards? But at the end of the day, kailangan merong magsasabi journalist to versus hindi
Okay.
Controversial nga yan. Na ano.
Unfortunately, I would hazard to say, pare-pareho kami ng iniisip ni Regine tsaka ni Ipe dyan sa sinasabi mo.
Controversial yan, Attorney Jess, pero hindi ka
Hindi, ang
nag-iisa
ano,
dyan.
ang isang problema kasi dyan sa binabanggit mo, Jess, I can understand where you're coming from, especially your training as a lawyer, and of course, the
Yeah.
frustration of having to distinguish between content creators and journalists. Pero yung licensing in itself is very problematic kasi the very nature of journalism, yung pinanggagalingan ng karapatan para mamahayag, diretso sa konstitusyon di ba? Pag nilagay mo siya doon sa isang body, let's say some sort of a PRC, ang problema dyan, even if you say na hindi mo siya, you will try to insulate that can still be weaponized, 'di ba? Imagine mo kunwari hingi ka ng lisensya o accreditation from a body, however independent that may be. Paano kung napasukan ng politika, especially in the context of our country in the Philippines? Ibig sabihin, hindi ka pwede mag-cover ng Malacanang. Hindi ka pwede mag-talk about this.
What if constitutional body and then elected yung body?
Hindi ganun kataas.
Tapos kailangan meron kang journalism degree.
Hindi kasi ang pinakaiba Jess, yung nature ng journalism in itself, no? Hindi sapat na meron kang ID or you are accredited as a journalist. Your body of work, your credibility, which you build over time, not just because of one scoop, one viral video, doesn't make you a journalist right away. Kumbaga, you have to work for it.
Magulat ka ba, Attorney Jess, hindi ako journalism. Economics ako
Economics siya.
So, natuto lang ako ng journalism sa school paper tsaka sa business world, no?
Actually,
I was fortunate to be,
isingit ko lang, yung ginagawa ni Jess, napalig ko kasi yung debate mo with a certain lawyer na DDS. Di ba i-explain yung yung how you treat your bubuit, yung triangulation. Actually, yung ginagawa mo, that's a journalistic process Yung objective method of arriving at a conclusion based on the facts available to you. Di ba? Pero in some ways, siguro pagdating ng panahon, pwede mo nang sabihin sarili mo, no? You have evolved into a journalist. Pero ngayon, I wouldn't think sasabihin mo 'yan, 'di ba? Because you're more of a legal expert, legal analyst,
a pundit,
political commentator,
a heckler,
a pundit. Oo. 'Di ba? Pero
maraming
basta
ganyan. Maski sa US context na nagsimula sila as columnists until they prove themselves to be yung independent sila from faction is something that's displayed in their work. Eventually, they were recognized as part and parcel of the journalistic fabric of the US. So, hindi malayo yun for someone who, applies the rigor of the journalistic method. Pero at least Attorney Jess, meron kang pagkilala sa Constitution, no, na ang Constitution ay, according to the Constitution, hindi pwedeng i-abridge ang freedom of the press. Kaya sabi ni Attorney Jess kanina, kailangan muna ng constitutional amendment, di ba? No, bago ka makapag-license ng journalist kasi
sa proposal ko yun sa proposal ko yun.
Abridging the freedom of the press. So, nagsasalita tayo dito kasi nawala yung host.
Oh, no.
Hindi naman natin pwedeng bawalan dead air. No?
Pwede pala yun. Pwede pala yung nawawala yung host.
Iniwan na tayo dito.
Nangyari na to dati. Oo.
Pero siguro to engage din your Jess, no? Parang palagay ko kasi yung licensing, hindi siya enough of a filter actually for bad eggs. Kasi kita naman sa law profession, di ba? I mean, marami pa rin nakakalusot na parang, gano'n. So, I don't think it's gonna cure necessarily yung problema na nakikita natin sa information ecosystem natin. Parang, palagay ko, dapat may ibang interventions pa. May isa pa akong potential intervention na hindi nabanggit, no? So, na-mention ko yung tech intervention, yung audience literacy. Dapat rin may intervention sa palagay ko sa politicians. Kasi sila yung clients ng mga disinformation na eto na, bumalik na si host.
Nalagot yung camera ko.
Yung saksakan.
Nalagot
Akala ko, pag nawala yung host, mawawala yung buong live.
Buti nga, tunuloy nyo Yun ang maganda sa podcast Kung sa network yan, panic na yan Oo.
Nangyari na kasi to dati. O kaya sabi ko, pag nawala si Christian, tuloy-tuloy lang to.
Alam niya na yung drill.
Pwede bang
Oh, you were
bumati?
saying,
Pamatiin ko lang yung
pwede
mga
naman.
kasamahan ko sa Press One, si Nico, Hertley, si Sky, si Mama Dory. Mga kasamahan ko sa baba, si Mrs., si Christina, si Mr. and Mr. Attorney Peredo, si Professor Christian Howashinsky, and Carlo Isline. Kasama natin dito sa safe house, somewhere near Batasan Complex. Magandang gabi po sa inyo lahat.
Magandang gabi. May isisingit lang ako kasi may middle ground to sa binabanggit ni Jess eh. 'Di ba? Sa ibang bansa, yung accreditation program nila, hindi siya run by the government, or even if there's a certain level of government involvement, yung accreditation na yan wouldn't ban you from, let's say, getting access to coverage. Kumbaga, pag meron ka accreditation from this accrediting body composed of mostly veteran journalists with credibility, mas mataas yung yung mas may mukha kang ihaharap doon sa mga kakausapin mo. Kunwari, pag sinabi, si Regine, ito, accredited to ng legit journalists of the Philippines. Pag nakita yun ng congressman na kakausapin niya, mas kakausapin ko si Regine kaysa ron sa isa na yung ID kasi laki ng Coupon Band.
Sa remember, Christian, sa France,
Yeah, yung France model yung inisip ko eh.
Yung mga pinapayagan mag-cover ng mga malalaking beats like about the Presidential Palace, kailangan meron kang licentiate or master's degree from a reputable media school. Yun. But it doesn't mean na hindi ka pwedeng magsulat for a newspaper or be in a broadcast operation. Pwede pa rin, pero hindi ka ilalagay doon sa mga premier na mga work ng mga beats, no? Kasi wala ka nung degree. Parang yun ang recognition nila.
Okay. Okay na ba tayo? Maraming salamat sa inyong apat, no? It has been a very fruitful and enriching and engaging discussion. Salamat kay Regine. Ito si Regine talagang binibida ko lagi yan eh. Kasi watch out for Regine, kabato.
Ganda ng boses ni Regine. Pwedeng magpatulog talaga ng
Talaga, thank you, sir.
At saka si Regine yan ang future ng journalism sa ating bansa.
Grabe naman to.
Kasi tayo maluluma din tayo eh.
Oo nga.
Ito si Jess, at tubili ako i-guest to minsan kasi nadadamay ako sa mga kaaway nito eh. Nagko-compound yung mga kaaway ko eh.
And you have to treat me with arm's length kasi syempre barangay kagawad nga ako. May political aspect talaga sa work ko.
Pero maganda naman
may disclosure eh.
Yun nga, sinasabi niya. Kasi yun ang minimum eh. 'Di ba? Kung meron ka man conflict of interest or perceived or apparent or real, yun eh. Ang first step is to disclose it. 'Di ba? Ngayon.
Kasi later, pag na-discover ng tao yung conflict mo, ang tingin nila sa'yo, bababa. Or sasabihin nila, ay, meron pala siyang ganun. Kaya pala siya ganito.
Ayun.
Hindi magandang look yun for a journalist.